And now we're on to session 17,
Woo!
The Forgotten Village.
Who wants to read that one?
This is the big battle.
I'll do it, I guess.
Yay!
And this one has Ben guest star again. He played, instead of Hanlon, he played Kitsune 590.
Yes.
And he did a damn good job of it, too.
Yes, he did. It was very fun to see him take on a character that's already established.
Yes. Well, because Kitsune 590 is not just from Catharsis, he's from previous games that Marina has run.
That is also true.
So it was very cool to see him come back for this.
The session opens with Watsonberg telling Claire that he is infected and is leaving town to face his fate so he doesn't infect anyone else. He tells her to kill him before he returns and hurts anyone if he comes back. Then a green fog announces the arrival of Florence Forget-Me-Not, who threatens to destroy the town with Deidre unless they give up and tell her where the party is.
Well, the party's at my house at 10 o'clock tomorrow night.
I know, really. The townspeople refuse and rally together, fending off the witch, who leaves, stating she will return in 24 hours with Deidre if they do not comply. Watts is seen for the final time riding a moss-covered hound into the woods. Beatrice writes the party to tell them to return immediately.
That was such a great moment. You know, I think that Marina has this, you know, does these opening scenes, and this one was especially fun because we hadn't seen these NPCs in a while, and it had this like Avenger style one where all of them had this epic moment and took down these undead and with these badass lines. Especially when Claire's like, we're the people of Mosswood, and we're going to defend our home until our dying breath. Like, damn, that was cool.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
I just, Mary, really likes Watsonberg a lot, and this made me really, really sad.
Watts is great.
I love him.
I'm sorry I did this.
That's okay. I have hope.
I will be able to cure him.
Okay. Paeris and Ellie find that the library has been purged of all text relating to Cerulean Falls before the dam, and therefore can't find anything on K590 in writing. However, they find a piece of artwork depicting a man in orange robes they suspect is K590. When they leave the library to tell him what they found, Sujin appears. She is angry and asks why they haven't destroyed the rune yet. Ellie explains that they had to break the dam first, and that they did that yesterday, but that the rune would be broken tonight. Sujin is not satisfied and says she will make the stakes higher and puts a curse on Ellie and Paeris. Ellie no longer has use of her moon tree arm, and Paeris is blinded in one eye. Ellie attempts to reason with Sujin, stating it doesn't make sense for her to incapacitate them.
But Ellie failed her charisma saving throw.
So badly.
Yeah,
To
definitely failed it.
incapacitate them when they'll need their full strength to destroy the rune, but Sujin doesn't care. This is a kind of a common theme with Ellie. When confronted with things she feels don't make sense, she's typically very quick to call people out and tell them that what they're saying doesn't make sense.
Yes. Which we
and
love her for.
a lot of times it actually seems to work out for her, because instead of having to fight with somebody, they kind of wind up coming to the conclusion themselves that, hey, wait, she's kind of right. That doesn't make sense. Why am I doing what I'm doing?
Yes.
So that typically works out for her in her favor, but this time it did not work.
Mm-hmm.
And she had a floppy moon tree arm.
Floppy! I don't want to say flaccid, because that's mean, but
No.
we know. We know.
Ellie and Paeris then show K590 the scroll they found, but he regains no memories.
There's one other thing I have in my notes here that it wasn't super important at the time, but after things that happened in Dragon's Heart specifically, it is now important. And it's the fact that Ellie examines Kitsune 590 and sees a yellow power Alacron crystal. Alacron crystal.
Sorry to be that asshole.
No, do it. But the Alacron crystals play a much bigger role in the Dragon's Hearth arc of Book 2. So look out for them.
At this point, Ellie realizes her ghost hunting badge has gone missing, so the party searches for it, discovering that Nameless stole it when they left. That evening, Getsume and the citizens of Cerulean Falls barricade their houses and the onsen in preparation for the rune being broken. Nanami gives the party 4 candles and tells them to light them to appease the spirits of the old town. Mizuchi, the undead dragon, haunts the area, and Ellie and Gwilla are momentarily charmed into seeing upsetting illusions, but the party helps them snap back to reality. I believe Ellie sees her father?
Yes. Ellie sees her father, and
Willa also falls prey again, unfortunately.
Yes. And the party, the sentiment here is that you've come so far, Gwilla, because earlier Gwilla apologized for her depressive state and says that she wants to do better. And she doesn't apologize for feeling, but rather for misdirecting her feelings, and that she's now ready to change.
I actually was really glad that Ellie fell for this one, because she talks about her dad a lot, like they were like besties, but I feel up until this point, you couldn't really tell how much.
Right.
Like, this was the first time she thought she was seeing him, and she got extremely emotional over it.
Yes.
I think
it was such a good character moment.
Yeah, so I think that was kind of an important scene for her.
A good fail.
Very much so.
Fail.
I love me some bad rolls, man.
Me too.
The party realizes they must place their candles into 4 small shrines and quickly manage to place the first 2. Paeris places the third a few rounds later. Willa attempts to reason with Mizuchi, but the dragon won't hear it and attacks, hitting everyone except Ellie, Abriel, and K590. Ellie demands K590 place the final candle by taking it from Lilith's hand as she lays unconscious and throwing it into the shrine. He does, and the rune flickers. Abriel revives Gwilla, Paeris, Lilith, and Atticus, and K590 deals the final blow to Mizuchi, and the rune shatters.
So, I do want to note
That Ben missed 20,000 times, even though it was standing on top of the dragon.
I mean, it was an incredibly epic moment. It was like the most anime bullshit thing.
Oh my god, that was so stupid.
It was so funny.
He had 9 electric tails materialize behind him, the katana crackling with energy as he leapt up. Lightning tendrils latched onto the dragon's head as the blade sinked into its skull, and eventually it drew its final breath. In my notes, I cut out the fact I think he did fail like 5 times.
He failed like 5 times.
It was hilarious.
Ellie had some reactions in game that were pretty insane. The first time she was like, alright, good try, like, do it again, try again. So he tries again, and then, because at this point, I think Ellie and 590 were the only people that were still conscious.
Yeah.
So it was essentially bouncing back and forth between our turns, but I was just standing there because there's nothing else to do, because the dragon was, like, literally underneath Kitsune 590. So I just kept using my turn to, like, shout encouragement, except after, like, 4 rounds of missing and literally standing on, like, I'm not even joking, he was standing on top of the dragon.
Didn't we just like flavor it as like it was really like wet and slippery?
Yes.
Yep. It would just be like darn.
Yeah.
But Ellie was like,
Darn. And it was just in the background.
you possibly miss? Like, you're standing on her head.
3 feet.
Right, exactly.
Also,
It was very much like, dude.
yeah. Also, kudos to us in hindsight for having Abriel come with us, because if she wasn't there, we probably would have had a TPK.
Oh my god, I miss Abriel. For
False,
that
I would have
reason.
saved your ass.
Yes, but
I would have saved your ass.
yeah, you would have.
Don't worry.
But that was a great moment.
Healing shit.
So that brings us to chapter 18, Gifts from a Goddess. Who wants to do that one?
I would, but it is long and late, and I am not feeling super confident
Cool.
about my reading skills right now.
I'll read
got
that
it.
one too if you want.
Chapter 18, Gifts from a Goddess. Florence Forget-Me-Not and another witch called Tiger Lily.
Fuck that bitch.
This is a different one.
Fuck that bitch.
This is
I don't care. Fuck that bitch.
This is the nice one.
care.
Ugh. I mean, ugh.
The nice Tiger Lily witch alerts the Morning Queen that they were unable to get May and Beatrice in Mosswood. And Deidre arrives and announces that Cerulean Falls rune has been broken. Deidre speculates that the 2 runes are being destroyed in succession, and the Queen Mother's death, Val escaping, and the reappearance of Paeris Cindervale and Lilith Blackwood could possibly be because Beatrice resurrected them, and that they might be in league with Val to overthrow the Queen. The Morning Queen is angry. and tells the Tiger Lily Witch in Florence, go to Lavender Fields and wait for the party there, and intercept them if they try to get the rune next. But then tells Deidre that if they don't go there, Deidre should go to Dragon's Hearth.
Yeah.
We don't see them for a bit.
Yeah.
Sujin returns to the onsen early that morning and prepares to fight Getsume, as she is tired of waiting for the rune to be destroyed. She is about to deal the killing blow to Getsume after a very, showy battle, when Sujin regains all of her memory and appears to be purified as the rune shatters. Remembering Mizuchi, Sujin calls out to her in horror, sort of leaving Getsume in the literal mud. Back at the site of the destroyed rune, the spirit of Mizuchi, as a beautiful woman in white, rises from the bones of the dragon and expresses her gratitude to the party for giving her peace. Nanami then shows her baby, and Willa says she'll keep watch over the baby. Willa has not seen this baby in some time.
I was gonna say, Willa makes a lot of promises. She do things, and she kind of forgets.
The other thing is, Sujin she's the fact that her child has hatched is miraculous because...
You mean the Mizuchi?
Yeah, Mizuchi,
child's hatch?
Because without the dragon, the egg can't hatch.
Right.
So she thought she'd be stillborn forever, and she says, you've saved us.
The lotus flowers bloom and clean the air and water. The golden spirits of the old town folks rise from the water as Sujin appears. She reverses Ellie and Paeris' curse. However, Paeris is left with a white streak in their hair. I forgot about that part of your character design.
Yep.
I am still implementing it whenever I draw them.
Among the litter and abandoned possessions in Mizuchi's hoard stands a suit of samurai armor with intricate wave designs. Lilith realizes that it's similar to the armor in the Moonlit Abbey and the armor that Claire wears, and asks how many other sets there are. All the Mizuchi knows is that several were forged in Dragon's Hearth. Paeris dons the armor, and it magically fits them perfectly. Willa opens Death's lantern, and the spirits of the townspeople enter. Finally, the Mizuchi tells Sujin she wishes she chose her instead of the black dragon Obsidian.
Ugh, that guy.
They share a brief kiss before Mizuchi enters the lantern.
Also, the village bursts into blossoms.
Yes!
That's just a small romantic detail I like. If you can't tell, I'm the romantic of the group.
The only one? Are you
can't
sure?
tell I'm not, no.
Paeris shows her the widow's tear, and a scroll of Deidre. The Mizuchi recognizes her and says that they were friends, but ended on bad terms when Obsidian left her for Deidre after the Mizuchi became pregnant. Paeris asks if dragons have any weakness she can share, and Mizuchi says dragons can only be killed by a weapon made of the remains of another dragon. Paeris asks Isabetta, Poppy, if she would be okay with Deidre being killed, and she replies through Poppy that she will do it when the time comes, and that she would rather Deidre die at the hand of someone she loved rather than someone she hates.
Mizuchi also explains that dragons have big hearts, literally and figuratively. They get so overwhelmed by emotion that they get stuck in their ways.
Yep.
And since Gwilla is part dragon, that gives her a lot of insight into her character.
Mizuchi then explains that she can sense an archfey and notes Lilith's pact with Zephyr, as well as Atticus, and explains that changelings are almost like tieflings in the way that they are born when someone has fey ancestry, though it may be so far back in the family tree nobody remembers. She says Atticus smells like his ancestor was either Zephyr, Prospera, or Sammy, or someone in the same family. Ellie then asks what Sujin meant when she called Ellie a half-spirit. She explains that a minor deity associated with Celine lives in the moon tree, and that Ellie bonded with them when she got her arm. Ellie hugs Sujin, and flowers grow from her arm. Gwilla does the same, but instead claws emerge from her hands and feet, and she's afraid. Ellie offers to paint them, and Gwilla feels a bit better. Getsume asks if the party if the party wants to celebrate with the villagers back at the onsen. Ellie tells her no. She's tired and wants to go to bed. However, she does want to build a shrine in honor of Mizuchi and the lives lost at the High King's conquest. It doesn't take long to complete it with everyone's help, and Ellie places the teleportation rune on top. As the group prepares to head back to Mosswood, Abriel speaks with Getsume, and Abriel tells her she seems cuddly. Getsume is flattered, and she says she's welcome to come cuddle anytime. A squish is born, and Getsume leads Abriel to her private quarters for sake and chill. And we mean that in the most pure asexual way possible.
It is adorable. I love their relationship.
Me too.
You're the cutest. Was that supposed to happen?
No, and I love it. I love it so much.
It was entirely accidental and no less appreciated.
Like it was my fault.
It was meant to be.
No, it's totally meant to be.
If it was my fault, if it was your fault, Mary Jo, it's a good fault.
I can't imagine them with anyone else.
No. They're so cute. No, they are good babies. Val receives another letter from Gwilla, and Hanlon scolds him for not replying. But Val says he wants Gwilla to think he's dead, so she will live for herself. Ellie tosses another Sidra marble when she is alone that night and asks how the Morning Queen is related to them. She then witnesses a scene from the execution day. The Queen Mother watches sadly, and the Red Devil ordering the slaughter to continue, though he has grown bored and left. Sidra and her cousin see Charlie moving up in the line to get swatted, and her cousin says she's going to demand an audience with the king and ask him to marry her right now to stop the executions.
I've got the dialogue from the scene. I know the scene's very important to you. I'd like you to read it.
Yeah, actually, can I read it? Can I read it off your phone?
Everything that is from that flashback is in italics.
Okay. I'm going to do it. I'm going to talk to the king. Perhaps he'll accept my proposal in exchange for Charlie's life. Sidra attempts to talk her down, but eventually her face goes silent and she says, "Go ahead." Sidra's cousin thanks her and lunges forward, but trips. And when she turns around, she realizes that it was Sidra who tripped her as she runs to the center of the execution herself. "I am Sidra Aster, and I request an audience with the king." The king's guard immediately turn to face her. They step aside and summon the Red Devil, Cadmus, the king, who saunters in with a partially unbuttoned shirt and stares down at Sidra with indifference. "And who might you be?" That is my brother by bond, and I will not let you hang him." Cadmus bursts into laughter, and the other nobility in attendance join him. "And why wouldn't I hang him?" Sidra stares him down fiercely. "I hear you're looking for a bride." That is when Ellie discovered that her sister
Well, she suspected for a
might
long
be the Morning Queen.
Maybe.
She pens a letter to Sidra. "I want to find you, where are you?" The letter lands at the Morning Queen's feet, and she reads it in disbelief. The Tiger Lily Witch reminds her that a drow girl was among the resurrected. The Morning Queen sends a blast of magical power, which lights up the castle. Ellie vows to herself she will not let the party kill her sister. And I just want to say, I didn't expect you guys to find out so soon, but I feel like the timing was right.
It was.
Because now you guys have been able to digest this information.
Yes.
But as a DM, that was my first big, yes! So much euphoria from that.
And I remember you said, explicitly at the time that it was really very much a special moment for you because you've been planning that scene for a very long time.
Yeah.
From literally the moment I was like, I wonder where that sister from Mary Jo's character's backstory went. Because if that happened to me, I would,
We got ourselves an antagonist.
Paeris sends a friendly message to Nameless. Gwilla writes a letter to Wick telling him they succeeded in destroying the second rune, and that I would like to add, she would like for him to be the first person she sees when she gets back, which becomes important later. Lilith receives a letter from Hanlon saying he's escaping Catharsis City with some friends. Lilith replies tersely. Atticus also writes a letter to Hanlon introducing himself and then offering a map. I know you have an anecdote about that specific letter exchange.
Yeah, that was a very fun thing to roleplay. Hanlon addressed the letter to Lily Eve instead of Lilith. And he says, please send prayers. On second thought, you probably don't do that anymore. Send thoughts instead. I'm so proud of you for saving the world, Hanlon. And there's a great bit here where Atticus is just overly formal and Lilith calls him out for it. He tries so hard to write a letter, and he just
really wants your dad to
I have a note here, and for those who don't know, I do add little details here and there. Atticus scribbles out several sentences and mutters an apology to his tutors under his breath. He's certainly not living up to the Snapdragon family name with this letter.
Nope.
There was a dirty joke in there too.
Oh yes. I believe Lilith.
No, I have it here.
Oh God.
So Atticus says, "I promise to treat your daughter right and not do anything that you might disapprove of." To which Lilith says, "For the record, I'm more than fine with us doing things Hanlon doesn't approve of because he's a fucking prude." Atticus then says, "That's great, but he doesn't have to know that." I love those two. They're perfect for each other.
Gwilla and Ellie then discuss a cure and realize that nobody is in their right minds. Huh?
None of the bad guys.
Oh, none of the bad guys are in their right minds, that they're being controlled by the curse. I see. They agree it isn't right to kill anyone if it can be avoided because they're all under Prospero's control and not acting on their own behalf. The party reconvenes and heads to Mosswood, where they are told of Florence's threats, and they are also told Claire and Amenity broke up. Drama. The party goes back to Wisteria Manor. I will say, when the party arrived back through the teleportation spell, Gwilla fell out of the teleportation through a bad roll, and Wick caught her, and I remember that was the first time Mallory blushed at the table.
Yep.
And Wick was like, "You said you wanted me to be the first person you saw, so I came and I made sure," and she was just like,
That was beyond cute. I had that in my notes. I was just like, oh, so cute.
It was a good moment for me as a DM. I was like, I made my friend blush. So you're reading the next one, and then Mary's reading the last one?
Absolutely.
Cool.
So we're second to last session of book 1, chapter 19, the Mycena Festival. Lots of plot relevant stuff happens here.
Also a lot of filler cute shit.
Yes, which I detailed in very loving detail in my notes, but this might have been skipped and edited out.
There's only so much.
Exactly. So we start with a horribly mutated man. Picture, I forget if it's Canada or Tetsuo. The guy in Akira with a big mutated arm. Picture that kind of, or with just really gross body horror. I keep saying that. He has a broken claymore. He's kind of
more gross body horror.
He's using as a bit of a crutch. Purple hyacinths droop over his eyes. His right arm bulges under the strain of the curse. But he has an undead army following him. And the witches and those who are yet to be inducted gawk at him. This is General Linus Brownstone. And his reputation precedes him. But he and the Morning Queen have never met face to face until now.
Oh yeah, I forgot about this bit.
Florence steps forward and demands that he show respect to the Queen, and he begrudgingly agrees. She then tells Linus that she does not want to waste time. And Linus tells her that the undead and himself and other Foltest followers see her as the Queen of Limbo. He then rambles on about how those affected by the curse are sinners, and how all true believers await Foltest's judgment day so they can be rewarded for their unwavering faith. But until then, they are in purgatory, limbo. The heretics and the sinners rot, and then, before he can continue on a religious rant, the Morning Queen mercifully cuts him off.
She's like, that's enough.
She then tells him why he has been summoned, and it is that because his father, Hanlon Brownstone, and his sister, Lilith Blackwood, have both been spotted in Catharsis. Linus is shocked because he believes that they should be in an eternal paradise, waiting for him to join them when he's free of sin. But he realizes that the Morning Queen is telling the truth. And he's equally shocked to hear that Lilith is alive and well, but also in very good physical condition, like she never died in the first place. Linus explodes in a fit of anger and curses the heretic imposters taking on the guise of his father and sister. If you can't tell, Linus is very, very, very mentally unwell. At that point, a man in a plague doctor's mask eagerly wades through the crowd and kneels before the Morning Queen. He has 2 twin flintlocks, and the Queen says that she knows that he wishes to be inducted into the Golden Afternoon. She then tells him to aid General Brownstone and apprehend Panlon, the wizard, Lilith Blackwood, and her traveling companions. When he completes his task, she will make him the first male witch. He then bows and turns to Linus and introduces himself as Lord Andre Snapdragon, aka Atticus's father, in what could possibly be the most awkward meeting of partners, relatives, without knowing that you're actually partners, relatives.
So my relative is dating your relative.
Yeah. And also, they hate us. Meanwhile, the White Stags of Wisteria Forest acknowledge Beatrice's presence. The mayor, Peter Carefulfoot, and his secretary, Ms. Nightflower, follow, and they all gather. And the mayor is extremely excited about the Mycena Festival, which is a day to commemorate the Drow and the Mushroom Folks' escape from the Underdark. He mourns the fact that he will not be able to share a mush cake with his beloved wife, who passed from heart failure a year prior, and Paeris offers their condolences. Authority and May greet the party upon their arrival, and Ellie swoops May up in a huge hug. Paeris tackles Authority and says they're happy to see Grandpa again. Lilith also gives him a hug and whispers that she's kept her promise. Lilith simply kind of tousles May's hair and tells her welcome to the Aasimar Club. And then May offers to make Lilith a halo when she explains that she doesn't have one anymore because she's a fallen Aasimar. When they get to the dining room, 6 stained glass lanterns glow on it, and Beatrice explains that they are all components for a cloaking spell that will prevent Mosswood from being found by outsiders, in the same way that Mysterio Manor is all but impossible to find without an escort. There's a lot of politicking here, which I'll kind of glaze over a little bit.
Ew, politics.
But essentially what happens is that the spell can only be cast by lighting the lanterns at 6 spots dotted throughout Mosswood. However, for it to work, 2 people must confess a hard truth to one another for the lanterns to activate. She then summons an entity, hands a letter of recommendation, and then sends him away. And she just is like, yeah, they broke up. I don't love them right now, but they're adults. They can handle it, whatever. And no one will be replacing him as butler. Meanwhile, we cut to the celebration, and everything is very exciting. Jar Joy's has a signature treat, the mush cake, and they have random fillings as well as icing colors that signify a pair's relationship status. So first, we go to Kay and to Paeris.
Ooh.
Kay is excited that Paeris no longer has an eye patch, which Paeris described in a previous letter. Kay also loves the new silver streak in Paeris's hair.
Yes.
And I have a note here that Koji, before the party left for Mosswood, he gave them all bento boxes, and Paeris plants a cheek on Kay's cheek and then pulls out the bento box from Koji so they can share it. And Kay just says, "That's so gay, I love it." They're not sure where they stand relationship-wise, so they decide to get pink, which signifies romantic interest but not quite partners, with a dollop of red, which signifies romantic partners in the middle. Paeris says the iconic line, I forgot who says it, "Are you my mush cake daddy?" I think it was Paeris.
Oh my god.
And then Gwilla was playing Miss Chanterelle for the scene, and it turns out she was a huge pervert.
Yes.
I didn't write down everything here, but Paeris tips her for that. At that point, Paeris explains the lantern spell to Kay, and they go to the moss farm to light one. They also do the maypole dance, which is a tradition to see who can tie the other up first, and whoever wins gives the other a kiss. Kay wins, and the children laugh at Paeris, while Kay says that they think Paeris is secretly into it. And Paeris just says we can confirm it later.
Oh my god. Spicy babies.
Not the only spicy thing that happens in the session. Kay and Paeris make their way to the edge of the moss farm, and they look at the flowers. Then Kay offers her condolences to Paeris about their family, and they thank her and say that they're reminded of it all too often. Paeris then tells Kay about Nameless and how they're interested in them physically, but not romantically. Kay admits that it's fine if it's just physical, but worries about the feelings developing. Kay then says, I want to be your anchor if you'll let me. And Paeris freezes up, and Kay takes her hand. Paeris admits that they never let someone get that close to them before, and that they don't want people to get hurt because of them. And their hard truth is that Kay deserves better than them.
Oh, damn. All right.
Yep.
I forgot about that.
Kay says, no, that is not true. I don't know who hurt you or made you think you aren't enough, but I'd sock them in the face and make them cry for their mommy. Let me help you unlearn your self-loathing, because while you may not be enough for yourself, you are for me. And the lantern lights up again, and their part of the spell is cast.
And that was the truth.
Deceased.
And then Kay finally confesses that she loves Paeris. And then Paeris says it back. And then they realize that the mush cake...
we're gay.
No, also that the mush cake has a raspberry filling. And that Paeris has some on their face. And the other says, let me take care of it for you. And they share their first kiss.
Yay!
Willa and Lilith have a moment where they visit Silk Moth, aka Toshiro, and they discuss what happened in Cerulean Falls. Lilith and Toshiro have a brief moment where she says that she doesn't like the fact that she has no goals since they were all accomplished by other people, and Toshiro tells her that she might be destined for even greater things. Willa also gets a cool new haircut and a cool new outfit, and then meets up with Wick. Wick and Willa hug, and they touch each other's hair, and then she invites him to go to the Moon Abbey Cemetery to light one of the lanterns with her. It will be a sort of date, and Wick is shocked that this is the first date Willa has ever been on, and he realizes that it's because she lived such a sheltered life.
It's like, but you're
Yep.
so hot. I don't understand. I cannot comprehend.
Once they get to the mush cake stand, that's when Wick realizes that he's definitely got more than just friendship feelings for Willa. And like Kay and Paeris, they get the pink circle part with the red circle in it. Willa wins the maypole game, and there's a beautiful moment where Willa tilts Wick's face up and kisses his chin, and he blushes and burns through the rope.
I love how everyone is so bottom for the player characters. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, fuck, they're so hot. Oh, God. Oh, God.
Wick then takes Willa to his favorite spot at the town hall, which is a clock tower where you can see all of Mosswood. Wick then tells Willa that she makes him feel safe, and Willa tells him what's on her mind later as part of the lantern ritual. They then just have a nice conversation, and Willa tells him that they'll be heading to Dragon's Heart next. Wick says he has a lot of mixed feelings about that because it's his home, but he just wants to have a picnic with Willa and enjoy the moment.
Can I also just briefly mention that there's a really interesting scene with Wick in that cemetery
Yes.
where we see Wick cry,
Yes.
and he admits that he's afraid of becoming like his father.
I'm getting to that.
Oh, sorry. I wasn't sure if you were wrapping up the scene, and I was like, wait.
No, I got this. So Wick asks where Willa takes him to Moon Abbey Cemetery, which is where the next lantern will be lit, and she specifically takes him to the tree where she was buried. She explains that the reason she was buried there is because that's where Val found her when she was a child, and the trees brought her peace and made her extremely happy in life, in death, and even now. She reflects on how cemeteries are where memories go to live on, and Wick completely agrees with that. And then Wick finally asks her if Deidre is her mother. Willa says that she has not earned that title, but that she did bring her into the world. And she confesses that she is scared to care about people because she doesn't want to end up like her mother, bitter, possessive, with nothing to live for but grief and vengeance. Wick lets her sob into his chest, not out of empathy, but out of understanding. He says that his father killed his mother, and he left before it happened, and he's aware of his flame. Willa then says, but Wick, your flame is beautiful. It only brings warmth. And they cry into each other's arms as the lantern glows bright. There's a beautiful moment here to end the scene. Wick says, here's to being better than them. And Willa says, we already are. We just have to believe it. Grex opens the door and sees Lilith, and she wiggles just an eyebrow and is like, I've got an Atticus ready for you. Grex has no fashion sense, unfortunately, and Atticus is in the most hideous shirt you can imagine. Lilith is like...
But he still makes it look good.
Barely. Lilith's like, no, that just won't do. And so she makes him get dressed again, and it's a very attractive outfit. They then set off hand in hand for the festival. Lilith isn't quite sure what to think. She's a city girl, not a country girl.
She's like, these country bumpkins.
Lilith immediately goes for the red mush cake without giving a second thought. Blueberry flavored, and then they do the maypole dance. And Lilith remembers an offhand remark from Paeris back when they got their tattoos, which was, "You should have had your tattoo infused with whole person." And true to Paeris' word, Atticus does not put up any fight when Lilith overtakes him in the maypole dance.
Yep.
In fact, he seems to be enjoying it.
Yep.
Lilith then leans in and kisses him as per tradition, and then they spend the rest of the day soaking in the atmosphere, enjoying each other's company, and swapping innuendos about various cantrips and spells.
That's all.
Yeah, that's it. Lilith heads to the Great Oak Amphitheater with Atticus, which is where they're going to cast their lantern. And Lilith admits that she doesn't know if she can admit her hard truth. Atticus thinks it's because she wants to break up, and she immediately assures him no. She's
like,
worried.
it's okay, I understand.
She's just worried about how Zephyr will react. She then admits to Atticus that she wants to reform Metamorphosis under a new name on her own terms and break the curse, because her companions, past and present, are who truly gave her the power to challenge the status quo, not her pact. She realizes that she can reinvent herself with their help, find a new path forward, set past wrongs right, and truly be free. Atticus notes that if that's truly the case, then Zephyr is holding her back, and Zephyr does not take kindly to this remark.
No.
He says that Lilith has done nothing for him since her resurrection, and accuses...
Which is true.
It is.
100% true.
He's like, bitch, you did nothing.
And then he accuses her of abandoning him for Atticus. Lilith says, no, it's not just because of him. I've had enough of you hurting my friends and anyone who disagrees with you. Everyone has told me to stay away, and I'm starting to realize that there may be some truth to that. Zephyr admits he's been a bit sketchy as of late, and then asks her if she is devoted to him or not. Lilith hesitates, and he says
everything.
Yes or no, there is no in between. Lilith then finally says that she's tired of Zephyr's bullshit.
Yep.
Zephyr then demands that she open the letter that he gave her way back in session 1. However, it is not addressed to her. It is a love letter to Zephyr from her very close friend Monarch.
Oh my god, for a fucking second I thought you were gonna say it was a love letter to Zephyr from Zephyr.
I can see that. The letter rambles.
Tracks.
Because it would.
Yeah.
And we all know it. It would.
The letter rambles on about how much he covets the Archfey and how jealous he was of the attention Zephyr gave Lilith. Very yandere coded, basically.
Yep.
Lilith throws the letter down in disgust, and Zephyr tells her the truth. Linus didn't kill her, although he did stab her. It was Monarch who cast inflict wounds on Lilith, which ultimately killed her, and that he is her true murderer. Zephyr then explains that Metamorphosis tortured Monarch for killing Lilith, then worked with the Morning Queen to fuse him and the King of Hallows together into a homunculus that does no longer knows its true identity. And Lilith begins to reevaluate everything she's ever known, and finally says, "A group that tortures and kills its members instead of fighting for the things we believed in is not worth my time."
Oof.
Zephyr then says he's breaking up with her and takes away her pact.
Joke's on you! I'm breaking up with
Yep.
you!
I am breaking up with you.
Lilith's butterfly wings turn to dust. She's so tired she can barely stand, but she continues to look at, him down in defiance. He departs, and he reveals his true Eldritch Horn to her, and then curses Lilith and Atticus with nightmares. Atticus then catches Lilith as she collapses from exhaustion, and
He's like, what just happened?
and the lantern flickers faintly. Lilith realizes that it's finally over and tells Atticus everything that happened, including the fact that he was cursed with nightmares. Atticus then embraces her and says that even if he's cursed, it's worth it if Lilith is free because he loves her that much. And that is his deepest truth. Lilith then confesses that she loves him too, and the lantern bursts to life.
This is such a romantic episode, my god.
Yes. So
Romantic comedy vibes.
So I do want to discuss very briefly, because I know we're running a little short on time. I don't think either of us anticipated Lilith breaking the pact that early.
No, I don't. I certainly didn't. And I love that it happened the way it did.
I think it was so important that it did, because if it hadn't happened and we had stayed the course like we originally planned, there are certain things that happened with Zephyr. I think the trajectory of his character changed completely because of that decision.
Yeah.
In some ways.
Yeah.
And he ended up becoming much more fleshed out, I think, than either of us imagined.
Yes, I think so too. I say this a lot. Sometimes these sessions really do be right in themselves.
Yeah, this was one of them.
This was one of them.
And the fact that it happens, the book one begins with Lilith making this pact, and then it ends with her breaking the pact and then making another pact. I think that's just such a nice symmetry. I love it.
Back to back.
Let's go to Ellie and Archive and May to finish this session off. Archive, Ellie, and May enjoy the activities the festival has to offer, and they get purple mush cakes for family. Ellie touches the moon tree, and her body goes limp, and her consciousness travels inside of it.
This is when we get to talk to Luna.
Yep. A figure in the shape of Ellie approaches her, echoing everything she says and does. They say that they're sorry, but they can't control it and that they've never been human. They go on to explain that they are the granddaughter of Selene that was created when she was one with Fultus. Ellie then introduces herself, the tree apologizes for taking Ellie's arm, and for all the side effects she will experience as a result, like growing paler over time. However, she notes that Ellie will be immune from the curse in several years' time. These side effects are identical to the antidote that Gideon was developing, though those who take the potion experience additional side effects like new allergies. Those who gain immunity from the curse will be connected to the moon tree, just like Ellie. Ellie continues to ask questions as she does, and the moon tree, whom Ellie names Luna, answers them to the best of their ability. There are other moon trees dotted throughout Catharsis that are connected together, including one at the peak of Dragon's Hearth, but that connection was severed when Prospera died. Things have been very confusing since her return, and all of the spirits and gods are terrified of the implications. Ellie finally says that if she hadn't died, she feels none of this would have happened, her sister wouldn't have become the Morning Queen, and the curse would not have been cast. The tree tells her that hate creates hate, and what happens is not your fault. Someone else would have taken your sister's role, and we'd still be in this nest regardless. Ellie then hugs Luna and resolves to fix things. Archive in the waking world calls for Ellie, and shakes her in a panic. Ellie jolts upward to his and Mary's May's relief. She assures them that she did not die like she feared, but was simply communicating with the moon tree. Archive confesses that he wishes that he could do more for her, and no matter what happens, I hope you never feel alone. Ellie thanks him for all he's already done, and then asks if she can be alone with May for a few moments. As soon as he vanishes, Ellie puts down the lantern and sobs, and Ellie finally confesses that May's mother is her sister, thus she and May are aunt and niece.
Which was a beautiful moment.
Yeah. May cuts Ellie off with a huge hug, and Ellie says that she just wants to fix her, and she worries that people will not understand. May then signs that they can fix it, and Ellie wipes her tears away. She tells May that she wants her to know Citra as Ellie knew her, and that she'll do everything in her power to make that a reality. Together the two vow to help her, even if no one else will understand why they want to show her mercy despite all the terrible things that she's done. Ellie reaffirms that she believes that it's her fault that the world is in this mess, and also tells May that she thinks that May also died. May is obviously shaken by this news and asks what happened to her.
She is an 8-year-old child. Let us remember this.
Ellie doesn't really know, but she's also not at fault for anything. May admits that the witches used to be nice and that they were her aunties and they called me the Seed. May then says, I don't know what that means, but it's okay, because I love you even more now. I already love you so much that I don't know how I could love you anymore. Ellie replies. The lantern lights up, its demands fulfilled. And that is the end of chapter 19. We're on the last chapter of book 1. Mary Jo, take us home. Take us home, Mary Jo.
Alright, session 20, bird calls.
Sorry.
Amenity and Claire share an exchange on the train platform before Amenity leaves.
Oh, right, this.
Amenity states that he wishes I met you after I knew what I was meant to be, and Claire says she wishes he would change his mind. Their exchange of truths lights the final lantern and the spell is complete. Mosswood is obscured from outside. Claire notices an old woman on the train platform, but upon further inspection realizes it's Beatrice in disguise, as she knows she and May are at risk of discovery while the town was unprotected. She tells Claire not to blow her cover, and they head back into town together. They meet up with the party for carnival games. Very far away shooting range, Ellie, Atticus, and May win. Mushroom pie eating contest, Paeris wins. Chicken rodeo, Lilith wins. And a brawl. Everyone loses but gets prizes.
So I want to dive into specifically the chicken contest and the brawl.
Yes.
Because in the chicken contest, Archive rolled consistently terribly, so the chickens continued to peck at him. And then Ellie, there was a very cute moment where Ellie gives him like one of those like, I'll kiss the boo-boo, and then she says, I think they call that a raspberry.
Yep. Yep. And that was their raspberry moment.
That was their raspberry moment.
Even though I like kissed his finger or some shit.
It was still very cute. Meanwhile, the reason that everyone lost.
He'll never wash that finger again.
But in the end it was, let's see. Oh yeah, so here we go. The finals were between Gwilla, Lilith, and Archive. And the way that Marina had it work was that we'd roll dice, and whoever, had the highest score won. However, me, Mallory, and Marina all rolled nat ones on the exact same turn. So we all lost. I have here that basically Archive place planted into his own shield. Willa tripped over Claire's leg that detached when she was brawling Lilith in an earlier round. Lilith glances at them, asks if that means she won, and then Archive's shield ricocheted across the field and hit her in the face. Gabriel simply said, "Oh dear," and the bewildered judges just call a draw and give prizes to everyone.
Then there's the talent show.
Yay!
Archive on piano, Ellie and May drawing pictures, Atticus and Kay strength and finesse feats, and Claire singing. May, Ellie, and Claire are the winners.
And that's when we found out that Archive can play piano. That will become important later. Oh wait,
Willa,
you guys don't know that. Anyway,
Willa also did a cool animal trick, and Lilith also did a singing act. And Paeris and Poppy told jokes, and I think Zoe rolled badly, and so they did not land with the audience.
Not very good.
Kay thought it was good, but everyone
was like, "Oh my god, my."
But everyone else was like, ugh. But Claire won, and then so did Elleanna.
Shortly after, the entirety of the town gathers to hear the mayor congratulate Mark Mycenium. Mark Mycenum?
Marina?
Sure.
Shortly after, the entirety of the town gathers to hear the mayor congratulate Mark Mycenum, an elderly mushroom folk man who assisted many in escaping the Underdark. He then passes a ceremonial sword down to his daughter, Micah. Mycenum then presents the party with medals and cheers erupt when he says, "You four are our hope that the dreaded Morning Queen and her minions are slain and stopped." This is upsetting to Ellie, but she does nothing. The final lantern sits between Beatrice and Authority at the Fountain of Selene, and lights when Beatrice states she hopes to find her father one day. The spell is complete, and Mosswood vanishes. Ellie leaves shortly after, goes to the Moontree Grove, and demands an audience with Death. When only a raven appears, Ellie pulls a knife. The raven states that it cannot be killed, and Ellie turns the knife on herself. Death appears and tells Ellie she is disappointed she would threaten to end her second chance at life. Ellie replies that she did not ask to be brought back, and that she doesn't understand how Death could be so cruel as to put her in a position where she must destroy her own sister. She demands to know why Death brought her back, when Death knew her sister was behind everyone's suffering. Death states they did not know, and Ellie doesn't believe them, though Death is telling the truth. Death then tells Ellie that she can't leave May, echoing what Sidra said to Ellie when she was dying, "Don't leave me." Ellie becomes irate at this and continues arguing with Death until Death tells her Prospera is the one she needs to worry about, and that if she discovers Prospera's past, she will be able to save her sister and everyone else. Lilith, Atticus, Kay, and Paeris visit Sammy and tell him Lilith is no longer Zephyr's patron, and they congratulate her. Paeris then tells Kay that Zephyr is behind their nightmares. Kay then invites Paeris to dinner to cheer them up. Willa and Wick snuggle up elsewhere in Mosswood and state that they will do whatever they need to protect each other. Willa prays to the Wild Mother and promises to help Prospera however she can. A flower then blooms in front of her in response, and Willa throws 3 white marbles, asking how Prospera died. She then sees a scene from Val's past. He and other student mages are attempting to protect Catharsis Castle from the witches who are being led by Prospera. The child Val acts in fear and raises his wand to Prospera, accidentally killing her with a burst of magic. The memory ends.
I would like to state, just for that scene specifically, he was obviously, like, terrified and thought that this woman was going to kill him. And he made a burst of magic without, like, meaning to, and that magic went into the heads of all of her witch followers, and they turned almost like robotically their wands at her and then blast her with Eldritch Blast simultaneously until she fried into nothing but a wilting rose.
A rainbow rose at that.
Mm-hmm.
The other important thing to note here is that the witches are not fighting / attacking to kill. They're simply attacking to incapacitate.
Yes.
However, Val and his fellow child soldiers, essentially, are not aware of this fact.
Yeah.
And Grilla is obviously disappointed by what she just saw.
Okay. Lilith has a dream where she is greeted by the Wild Mother, who states she is quite in demand among the Archfey and that she can choose a new patron if she wishes. She is then introduced to a plethora of deities: Islin, Zephyr's youthful counterpart in the Archfey of Dreams, Arachnids, and Fun, the Wild Mother, Sujin, goddess of water, and death. After speaking with each, Lilith decides to become a warlock of Iceland.
Lilith is tasked by Iceland to help people escape their nightmares that Zephyr causes and gives her a dreamling companion named Hypnos, who will aid her in that quest.
Ah, yes.
She also asks about Lilith's wings, and Lilith tells her that no, she's fallen. She can't have wings. Her wings are gone. They're broken. At which point Iceland says that being fallen is simply a state of mind, and Lilith regains her wings once again.
Following morning, Mosswood awakes to Florence Forget-Me-Not and Deidre wandering the woods aimlessly, searching for the town. Upon realizing there is some cloaking spell afoot, Florence shouts that hiding May and Beatrice is a declaration of war against their queen, and that there will be consequences. They are then chased away by an undead, mossy Watson bird, riding an undead direwolf, as well as a swarm...
No, you're
as well as a small army of other woodland creatures, living and undead. Seeing that Watts has succumbed to the curse, Ellie immediately attempts to speak to him, but finds he can only seem to communicate in bird calls. She tries telepathy instead, and Watts replies, "It's okay. I'm with my friends now. Don't cry for me. I'll protect this town." And that is the end of Book 1.
Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of Catching Up with Catharsis.
Yes, thank you for joining us, and I would like to thank Mary Jo for hosting us. Thank you, Mary Jo. I know it's really late. Zoe, thank you for joining us. I know it was probably very long, but I hope we had a good time. And,
I had a great time.
Jillian, thank you for all of your lovely anecdotes and for being such a,
Prolific note.
yes, my goodness.
Absolutely.
And thank you all for being here and for playing my silly game with me. Without you guys, there would be no plot, there would be no story. This would all live in my head, and I would be sad.
Thank you all for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye!